The legend of Heracles begins not with triumph, but with Zeus doing what Zeus did best, making questionable life choices. He was king of the gods, master of thunder, ruler of Olympus, and full-time disaster manager of his own scandals. One of his boldest hobbies involved a mortal woman named Alcmene. The problem? She was already married to Amphitryon, a respected general who happened to be away at war. For any normal god, that would be a red flag. For Zeus, it was an invitation. So what did he do? He pulled off the oldest scam in Olympus. He shapeshifted into Amphitryon. Same face, same voice, same swagger. Like the world's first and worst case of identity theft. Alcmene, thinking her husband had returned early, welcomed him with open arms. Zeus, of course, congratulated himself for his brilliance, as if catfishing mortals was some kind of divine sport. And from that one deceptive night, Heracles was conceived, a child born of confusion, betrayal, and the most awkward love triangle in Greek history. Half human, half god, and entirely problematic for everyone around him. From the moment of his first cry, Olympus had one more reason for family drama. But Zeus wasn't satisfied with just another demigod child. He wanted this one to be immortal, someone who would stand apart even from his other illegitimate kids, which, to be fair, was already a large and chaotic group. And his brilliant plan? Not a blessing, not a ritual, not a divine ceremony. Zeus decided immortality could be achieved through one simple act, giving the baby a drink of Hera's milk. That was it. His idea of an upgrade system was essentially just plug the baby into divine dairy. So one night, when Hera was sleeping, Zeus crept into her chamber, carrying baby Heracles. He held him under his arm, like someone sneaking contraband snacks into a theater. He tiptoed across the floor, glanced around nervously, and gently placed the child at Hera's chest. In his head, he was congratulating himself. Perfect. Once he drinks, he'll be immortal. Easy. The problem was, Hera wasn't exactly the type to sleep peacefully. She stirred, opened her eyes, and found a strange baby latched onto her. Shock and fury collided in an instant. With one violent motion, she shoved him away. The milk sprayed across the heavens, leaving bright streaks of light. The Greeks claimed that was the birth of the Milky Way. Modern science says the galaxy formed from dust and stars billions of years ago. But the Greeks insisted it was caused by an angry midnight breastfeeding accident. And to be honest, their version is a lot funnier. Of course, this accident didn't endear Heracles to Hera. She already hated him, not only because he existed as Zeus's side project, but because every breath he took was a reminder of Zeus's betrayal. If family gatherings were awkward before, this baby turned them into live minefields. But the galaxy-making incident was only the beginning. Heracles' family tree itself was a full-blown nightmare. Zeus wasn't just his father. He was also the great-grandfather of Heracles' mother, which meant Heracles was technically his own great-grandson. Try mapping that on paper. It won't look like a tree. It'll look like a plate of tangled spaghetti. The Olympian genealogy didn't branch. It tied itself into knots. So Heracles was born into a world of scandal and absurdity, where even his ancestry looked like a cosmic joke. Hera, meanwhile, decided that enough was enough. If she couldn't erase the scandal, she could erase the child. One night, she sent 2 enormous snakes into his cradle. The room was quiet, the moonlight faint, the baby asleep. The snakes slithered across the floor, tongues flicking, eyes glowing as they coiled toward the cradle. They rose up, poised to strike. Any ordinary infant would have wailed in terror. Baby Heracles giggled. With one tiny hand, he seized the neck of the first snake. With the other, he grabbed the second. Moments later, the snakes dangled lifeless. News of the event spread quickly. People whispered that this was no ordinary child. He was born for violence, destined for chaos, carrying strength that even adulthood shouldn't contain.
A new hero rises.
For Hera, this wasn't encouraging. It was infuriating. Her plan had backfired. Instead of ending his life, she had given him a chance to show off. The baby became a miniature celebrity overnight. The kind who didn't need lullabies, but already had a highlight reel of heroic feats. For Zeus, of course, it was confirmation of his brilliance. He strutted around as if he had invented parenthood. For the mortals raising Heracles, however, it was a warning. Raising this child would not be like raising any other. He wasn't built for peace, or learning, or quiet family dinners. He was built for chaos. And that was only the beginning of his story. Heracles grew, and so did the problems of anyone who tried to teach him. The snake-crushing baby turned into a boy with muscles too big and patience too small. His foster father decided to send him to school. Maybe letters and numbers could tame him. The writing teacher placed a stylus in his hand. Snap. Broken in half. Reading lessons began with a scroll. Heracles used it to wipe his mouth after lunch. Mathematics lasted exactly 3 seconds. The teacher explained, 1 + 1 = 2. Heracles replied, no. 1 punch plus 1 punch equals victory. End of lesson. Then came music. A respected tutor handed him a lyre, hoping melody might soften the boy's temper. Heracles strummed once. The instrument cracked. The teacher, furious, struck him. Bad idea. Heracles swung the lyre like a club and knocked the man flat. That was the end of his music career. If he had a school report card, it would have read, reading, fail. Math, fail. Music, teacher knocked out. Physical education, legendary. Clearly, civilization was not in his future. So they tried something else. They sent him to the countryside to herd sheep. The quiet hills were supposed to calm him. Instead, he invented new hobbies, like uprooting trees for fun, while other shepherds carried light staffs. Heracles carried the trunk of an ancient olive tree, stripped into a massive club. 10 men couldn't lift it, but to him, it was just a walking stick. Imagine bumping into a teenage shepherd strolling around with a tree trunk like it was nothing. That was Heracles. But fate quickly handed him a challenge. In the hills lived a lion so monstrous that hunters disappeared and villages lived in fear. Its roar rolled like thunder. Its claws shredded armor. Its hide could not be pierced by weapons. At 18, for 50 days, he chased the beast across mountains and forests. His sandals wore out, his cloak tore, but he never gave up. Finally, in a cave, the lion lunged. Heracles swung his club with the force of a thunderbolt. The crack echoed for miles. The lion fell, its skull crushed, its roar silenced forever. Heracles skinned the lion and draped the hide across his shoulders. From that day on, this became his signature outfit. The king of the land was so grateful that he promised Heracles a reward. But not 1 wife, not 2, 50. Why 50? Because Heracles had chased the lion for 50 days. So the king gave him 1 bride for each day. Greek math. For a while, it was paradise. Endless feasts, flowing wine, music, and children everywhere. But blessings can turn into burdens. By wedding number 35, even his closest friends stopped showing up. Nobody wanted to answer 50 wedding invitations. Heracles found himself surrounded by glory, wives and children, yet strangely alone. That was his paradox. Strength raised him above other men, but it also set him apart. He could crush monsters, but he couldn't escape chaos. And though the lion was gone, Hera was not finished. It began on an ordinary day. Heracles was sitting at a feast, drinking wine from a cup the size of a bucket. His children played around him. His wives laughed. Music filled the hall. For once, things looked almost peaceful. Then Hera struck, not with lightning, not with storms, but with a whisper in his mind. Suddenly, the music sounded like shrieking. The laughter twisted into mocking. His vision blurred. Everyone looked like an enemy. Rage boiled through him. He grabbed his club. In his madness, he swung wildly. The hall erupted into screams. He struck shadows he thought were monsters, only to realize later they were his own family. When the madness lifted, Heracles looked around. The wives, the children, the household, all gone. For once, strength meant nothing. Muscles couldn't undo what had happened. Glory turned to ashes. The mighty Heracles, snake slayer, lion killer, party host of 50 weddings, was broken. He went to Delphi, the oracle of Apollo, seeking an answer. His voice shook as he asked, "How can I cleanse this? How do I make it right?" The oracle replied that there was only one path. He must serve King Eurystheus of Mycenae for 12 years, performing tasks that no one else could. Only by completing them could he purge his guilt and earn redemption. So the stage was set. The strongest man alive, brought to his knees by madness, would now be a servant. His future wasn't filled with feasts, but with trials so dangerous that even the gods would watch in silence. And Hera, she smiled, because for her, the story wasn't over. From here, the story of Heracles would no longer be about wild parties and flashy victories. It was about to turn into a saga that stretched longer than any soap opera Greece could imagine, with challenges that would make his past adventures look like child's play. So don't blink. Stay tuned for the next episode, Heracles versus the Impossible, where we'll reveal how the buffest man in mythology was dragged into the most humiliating and impossible tasks ever written. Tricky.